are live. Welcome to this edition of Wealthy Wednesday. I am so excited. Oh my goodness, I am tingling. This is going to be so incredible. If you are an entrepreneur, you are a business owner, you have a side hustle, you want to become an entrepreneur, this one is for you. Grab a pen, grab a pencil, get your notepad, get your highlighter. You're going to want to take notes and you're going to want to ask questions. I absolutely promise you. And tag somebody who needs to see this. Who else do you know that's an entrepreneur? Who else do you know that's a business owner who would like to transition into becoming a business owner? I just think entrepreneurship is the most precious gift that we can give to ourselves and our loved ones. So my name is Leah Garcia, financial strategist and insurance professional, and it's really my crusade to help you properly protect, distribute, and transfer your wealth so that you can build that legacy and create generational wealth for you and your family. And I have seen that. I have seen people transition from being an employee and starting their own business and absolutely doing that. So today, we have a guest speaker that I call her the Queen Doctor. I don't know if that embarrasses her or not, but I have so much respect for her in so many ways. I have watched her, what she gives, the information, the wisdom that she imparts on us. And she does this week after week after week, day in, day out. She says the same message. I've seen her in so many different situations. We had LinkedIn audios, and then I've seen her on videos. I've watched her completely give without any expectation in return. She gives it free. She teaches Mind Over Matter on Mondays, which is an incredible show. If you have not seen that, please tune into that. And I love also the Think and Grow Rich. I love Think and Grow Rich. She's been teaching from the book Think and Grow Rich for over 17 years. And she learned from one of the masters, Bob Proctor. So, like I said, today's going to be great. So without further ado, I give to you our Queen Doctor, Leslie Flowers. The mic is yours, my love.
Well, hi, everybody. Good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world and you're tuning in. Thank you for being here. This is really about how to be very cool when you say goodbye to corporate and that guaranteed paycheck and step into your dream, small business, entrepreneurship, or, even a franchise. And there's a way to do this so that you can be cool the whole time. That is, not stress over the lack of a paycheck, which is pretty important once you're used to having it. Just the thought of not having it can make us feel very uncomfortable and afraid, frankly, especially if we're used to it. It's security. And then there are things you can do with the way you think and the way you prepare to make the move. Now, my work over the last, say, 25 years has been in personal development. The last 17 has been helping 500 of my clients set and achieve their 12-week goal, which totals 65 quarters. So these 500 people sat with me and we tracked everything they did to achieve their goal. We followed Think and Grow Rich and my own different areas of expertise. But what it is, this is what we're all looking for, is a process to repeat. I mean, if you get down to it, how we learned our multiplication tables was I danced through the house. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. Hey, Ronald, so, proud of myself. But we know that repetition is how we learn and how we embed belief and things such as the multiplication tables. So that my work is really giving you what I've learned throughout my life in the last 25 years about thought agility, about the conscious mind and how to outweigh our fears, which are negative thoughts in which we have perfect faith. Only one conscious thought will take over our mind at any time. Typically, when we go to do something we haven't done before or that we failed at, we get a negative fear that's right there, right up to the plate, right? You've tried this before, Leslie. You failed. This is a bad idea. Let someone else do it. Not even giving your higher side, your conscious mind, the thought to think, well, I've gotten better, or maybe I've practiced, or I just want to give it another whirl. You didn't even have it, you didn't even get to the plate. So this work that we do is developing conscious awareness, and there are 6 mental muscles. As warriors, Vikings, to tear apart and know them very well, our enemies, which are our basic fears. So what we're going to do today is talk about how you can prepare yourself and live into your dream, which is your side hustle. Maybe you really have a dream. Maybe, you worked on it and you're sure that you want to go for this, but you are just afraid to take the risk. So there's a way to do it, and to counterweigh your fears and to just glide into it, because you can control what happens, certainly influence it by the way you think and what you think. So Leah, over to you. Where would you like to begin on where we approach this possible move from a permanent full-time paid job, right? Kind of secure, into something unknown, a side hustle, a part-time job, whatever it is? Where would you like to begin, my friend?
I would like to begin with sharing a couple of things that they need to set up financially so that they don't have that luring in the back of their mind, and they can have clear bandwidth to focus on their new endeavor. So if you're leaving a corporate, and I love this, we're going to welcome a few people in a minute. I love this comment by Miss Dina. She said she is preparing to do that. She's preparing to leave a job next year. So Miss Dina, as you prepare, there are 4 pillars that you need to set up. And I talk about the wall of wealth. So in my first layer, I talk about your first cornerstone. The first brick you need to lay really good and perfectly is your health insurance. Make sure that you have the right type of health insurance, super affordable. There are a lot of different options. I'm happy to help. I share with my clients medical cost sharing plans, their work, their comprehensive, rich corporate style benefits. And then you need to have some life insurance. I love sharing with my self-employed, my entrepreneurs, life insurance that also has living benefits, meaning that if you get sick or hurt and can't work, something that mirrors a disability program. Otherwise, you do need to have some sort of a separate disability policy, which can be pretty costly. That's why I like to couple it with a life insurance, super affordable. And then you want to have an emergency fund. I know that doesn't sound sexy, but you want to have at least 6 months to a year that will eclipse any of your monthly needs. I'm not talking about the hair salon and the vacations. I mean, what do you need to keep a roof over your head, food in your belly? How much money is that? And start squirreling that away so that you can be able to do those things and not feel pressured to get that sale, not feel pressured that you have to make X amount of money, and give yourself that opportunity to be able to really focus on your business. So that's what I'd say about that. What I'd like for you to unpack is, how do we make that? Like, when do we know we're ready to make that switch? Before you top into that, let's welcome a few people that we have here. You're so popular. I love this.
No, this is you, honey. This isn't me. This is you.
Yes.
I am seeing some people I haven't seen in a while. So hello, I'm so glad to see
you. They're all your raving fans and friends.
There are a few people. Hey, Julie or Dina, how are you?
Yes, and Dina is a fantastic artist. Yes. If you haven't seen her work, it's just incredible. So Ms. Dina, please share your links. I know people want to see the work that you do. We have Ronald, who's a new friend. He's also got a martial artist as well. So thank you so much, Ronald, for coming in. And I'd love to have a coffee chat with him, with you also, Ronald. And my good friend, Jason Wilson. Oh my goodness. Jason's been a guest on my show. he and I just have this incredible connection. I love just collaborating with him. And he's also helped some people to develop their own podcasts. If you would like to create your own podcast, please reach out to Jason. I promise you, he will take good care of you. And I want to highlight this next guest. His name is Gregory. Now, when I met him, he was just on the cusp of starting his business. He owns a securities business in New York. And I'm telling you, it's been maybe 2 years, Gregory. I'm not sure how long we've known each other, but he has completely taken his business. He's exploded. He now has about 50 employees. I think that is incredible. So thank you for joining us. And I see a few more people in here, but why don't you kind of unpack that for us? How do we know if we're ready to take that leap from a corporate into our own business? And what do we need to do? What are some things that we need to think about?
So let me go back just a tiny bit to what you were saying. You know, there's a couple of things that we need to be aware of when we are getting ready and thinking about doing this, right? It's in our mind. It's something we want to do. Maybe we thought about it for a long time. But now what Leah had said was planning out all of your insurance, etc., because when you're in corporate, very often they're paying for that. So that is very important. That'll reduce anxiety, and that takes on the fear of illness. Because the worst thing would be, excuse me, to leave your job that has insurance, not do this, go home, start your business. You could have your cushion, which Leah, if she was telling you the truth, 2 years, if you can, not 6 months, but 6 months will work. But the more that you can have, the better, right? And then you get sick. So the fear of illness, which is one of our 6 basic fears, it's managed in advance. So before you make this move, there needs to be some strategy. Yeah. And the other thing is the real fear of poverty, because most side hustles are not full-time jobs. Ideally, when your side hustle is earning you what you're earning in your full-time job, that's the ideal situation, right? To walk away. Excuse me. But that's not usually how it works. Right? It isn't. So if you can take on those 2 fears, then, you know, the other fear that comes up, these are things that are going to come at you when you go to do something you haven't done before. Excuse me, I've got to get some water. Leah, take over and talk a minute while I get a sip of water.
Yeah, get some water. I'll welcome a few more people. We have Miss Lisa Favec. She's our dietitian and our menopause mentor and all around good health. And I just adore Miss Lisa. Lots of great collaborations with her. Please check out her events. And also I want to welcome my corazon, Miss Margaret Martinez. She is our Go Brunch mentor. If you want to learn about Go Brunch, how to use that, it's a great, another social media platform, super affordable. Check it out. I know that she would love to share with you how to get started. So
I'm back.
Are you back?
Thank you. I need another break. I've been talking a lot today, so forgive me, everyone. Okay, so one of the things that happens when we're working full time, and put in the comment if this has happened to you. You're in a full-time position. You're working all day. And by the time you get home, you are exhausted. The old Yiddish word for that is verpischt. That's one of those words which you know what verpischt means when you're that tired. And this is how I was when my kids were growing up. And when they were little, I would go to work, half hour in, half hour home, come home, fix food, etc. I don't want to do anything. I'm exhausted emotionally and physically. So one of the things that you want to prepare yourself for is to treat yourself as a business consultant, not a permanent employee. And here's why. When you're an employee, you get sucked in to all the drama and the politics and who's bringing this for lunch and who did this. And but if you notice when a company brings in a consultant, there's actually a bit of a distinction. They're not drawn in as much, probably because they're not there for the long haul, although who is? So, and what is the long haul? So, what happened was when I began to change the way I went to work. So I went to work as a consultant, although I was full time. I did not go in with the gossip. I did not do the water. I did my job and went home. Lo and behold, I had plenty of energy to fix dinner and afterwards go work on my side hustle. If you want to build a business on the side of something that you love, something on your own, and you have to prepare for it, one of the ways is to prepare your energy. So you have to practice not getting sucked in to corporate politics, right, Peter? Peter will tell you that's the truth, that he's got a big smile to prove it. So while you're thinking about this, you can practice emulating a consultant. And all I'm saying about a consultant, they're not unpleasant. They're there to do business and get the heck out. So you have to nurture yourself, a little self-care, get in the habit of not letting them pull every bit of energy out of you and get involved in everything that's going on. I can do this, because you're going to be whipped when you get home. And the idea is to save your creative, emotional energy for when you get home to develop that business. So let us know in the comments, have you noticed this with yourself? That by the time you get home and you have something to eat and take care of a few things, take out the trash, walk the dog, and feed your kids and husband, that all you want to do is sit back and maybe stream a series on TV. I mean, just relax, right? Maybe listen to some music and have a glass of wine. I don't know what you would do, but to unwind. So, or even go to bed. There are times when I come home, Leah, and I get into bed at 7:30 and have to get up at 6 the next morning. I just crashed. So this is really important if this is something you want to do. Now, so do you have any questions? I know I've got some examples, but did that cover this? This is the preparation you want to prepare for the fear of poverty. Get your stuff in order. Call Leah, get your insurance stuff. Put aside at least 6 months of money. It may take you a couple of years to save that much. But these things take time. And in order for you to enjoy it, when you finally get there, you don't want the anxiety of, oh my God, I don't have money, I don't have clients, oh my God, what if I get sick, right? You're worrying about all of that. It's really hard to be creative. And you're supposed to enjoy this move. So you can do that if you take on these few things. So Leah, what else is coming up for you?
That was so good. I would say this is one of the errors that I see people make, is that they have this side hustle, they start making this extra income and they start to upgrade their lifestyle. No, that side hustle income, you squirrel that away. That will become your emergency fund.
Yes.
And then you will have that money in less than a couple of years. I mean, if your side hustle is replacing your income, you'll have that in just a few months, within 6 months, maybe a year. And now you can really have that emergency fund. So I loved when you were sharing about that. And Fabished, but what's that word again?
Fabished, F-A-P, P as in Paul, I-S-H-E-D. It's Yiddish. A lot of the Yiddish acronyms or idioms they come from more of the way they sound. There's a basis in reality, right? But there's also this kind of funny.
I love it.
This is kind of funny twist to it. So when I hear Fabished, right, I know that person is absolutely
Oh, boy.
exhausted. Don't ask, they can't even put a sentence together, right? And I don't even have to, I don't have to describe it. You know what that feeling is. We all do. So it's kind of fun.
Yeah.
One of are there any questions? Oh, let me just see. Leslie brings in a great point. If I'm reading in these. Oh, look who's Christy's here. The employees can be sucked into all the drama from individuals and perhaps maybe employees. Yes, it's really hard. I mean, I was 45 years in corporate. I mean, how many altercations and political disagreements? And did you ever go home crying? Did you ever have bye bye boss? I mean, I remember once and let's answer this question when you know it's time.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll give you an example. There's a couple of ways to know it's time. One, you've planned it, you've thought about it a long time. Thank you, Ronald. That you have the money put aside, that you have your insurance, you know exactly what to do, right? You've thought about this for a while and you've put things in place. You've also been the consultant, right? So you're starting to back off with using all your creative energy at work when really just get in there and do the work, be grateful, and get the hell out, right? Go be with your family or go walking or do something else. But then that willingness or that wanting to belong, which is Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Right in the middle is we want to belong. So it's a pull. It's actually a fear. It's a fear of being judged if I don't get involved. So you might want to look at that, how you're feeling. How are other people treating you? Right? You may notice that as you pull back, right, that other people seem cooler. You've changed. So this is also, let me think where I was going now. I was reading, and I love the purple background, Jason. That's one of my colors. So it distracted me for a second. Okay, so you've got that's the fear of criticism. So you're going to have that fight too within yourself because you're going to change in corporate to conserve that energy. So there's two ways to know you're ready. One, I had taken on a job, a temporary job that could be permanent in an architectural firm. And I'm a master executive assistant. Like I've been typing and doing that kind of work for 50 years, right? Started with the manual typewriter. So I never get carpal tunnel because my wrists are always up, right? Because you had to push the damn keys down, right? It wasn't like you could just rest your keys and with the electronic keyboard. Anyway. So this guy was the boss. Bye-bye, boss. I am a temp, and I'm doing all the documentation for the architecture firm. Now, this is a man who of short stature. Ever known anybody that has what they call the Napoleon complex? Basically, because our society does not seem to appreciate men of a certain height or less as much as they do men who are taller. Just saying this objectively, that he had a few issues of control, right? And he was trying to control me, Miss Sagittarian, right? Anyway, this is the first time I'd ever worked in an architectural firm. So I had no background experience, and he became a little oppressive and abusive. And I went home upset every day because I didn't like the way he talked to me. But I was fighting with, I've just got this temp job. I really like the work I'm doing. There's great people here. I don't want to walk away right now. And he made it hard for me every day. He really rubbed me the wrong way. He didn't know what he was dealing with. Anyway, one day I had it. So this is the one way when you know you're going to say, bye-bye, boss. I'm out of here. I did it. Now, I got so angry. I said, listen, I'm leaving and I don't like the way you've treated me. And he said, well, you'll never get a recommendation from me. I said, fine, I'll never give one on you either. And I was hot. when I walked out. I was not thinking, but why did I do it and why was it okay? And as I look back now, I know that God in the universe is our co-creator and is part of us. And he whispers through intuition. And I had put up with compromising my values, dealing with my anger for a number of weeks. And finally, it was like the straw that broke the camel's back. But there was no straw or camel. It was the universe through intuition said, that's the line. That is when your higher side steps up. Now, look, there was a risk because the money was gone, right? There was a potential reputation being gone because I couldn't use this one architectural firm, right, that I could need if I wanted to do more architecture. I had that fear. And I left. That was spiritually guided. That was the universe saying, enough, Leslie, you've put up with enough. Get out of here. This is toxic. Now, to end the story, which is so perfect, Leah, my very next interview was with an architectural firm.
Wow.
And with the president of a very prestigious architectural firm. The only experience I had was that 3 months at that other architectural firm, and all the architects in Raleigh knew each other. So I go in and I want to work for this place. They're bringing in CAD, and eventually I did work there, and I taught them all how to do computer-aided drafting and design. But here's what happened. This is where your authenticity and your values have to be. You have to be honest. He said, well, Leslie, I'd like to offer you the job. May I have your references? And I said, the first and only reference I have is with this company. You know, Mr. So-and-so. And he said, yes, I know him. He will not give me a good review. Now, the other two people will sing my praises, but I just want you to know right now, it was a very uncomfortable situation. It was a decision I had to make, and I walked out.
Wow.
Because I did that, he hired me. And he said, indeed, he did not give you a good recommendation, but the other two did. So isn't it interesting how I had never worked in architecture? I was faced with this divine guidance to get the heck out of there because it was toxic, really, for me. And I didn't have to compromise anymore. And then what did the universe do? Opened up a beautiful opportunity to be authentic, be honest, because I didn't have to tell him. I could have said, oh, I don't have any architectural experience, but I have these other 2 or 3 that are really good. But the fact that I had worked there on CAD and knew all of this stuff was vital. So that's one way. The other way is when you've got everything set, right? The other way is when you finally take a couple of years. Don't rush. You have a lot of learning to do. You don't want to get into it before you've learned your lessons. Right? Because you'll be in anxiety. So the best way to do it is to withdraw emotionally, do your job, don't you think, Leah? And then conserve your energy. And as far as what it is you want to open up the business, you got time to build a visual image of what this business will be like, and it'll change. It'll evolve. That business, when you first start, looks one way, but as you go through the learning curves, right, and you learn things, it starts to look like something quite different that you can manage. You know how to manage those things because you've worked it. So to me, those are the 2 ways, so that it's okay occasionally to walk out because you do have a co-creator, and not everybody believes that. But I don't know exactly how everything works, but I've seen enough of this God, this universal power, this energy, this force, this omnipresent force of love that lives with us and gives us the things based on what we're thinking the most and how we're feeling. So if we're thinking, I'm afraid I won't have the money, what if I don't get enough clients? What if I get sick? You're going to have not enough money, not enough clients, and you're going to get sick, right? So this is kind of like using, right, the benefit of our spiritual source. You don't know 100% exactly how everything works. It's called the transmutation of radiant energy, but we are co-creators. And that energy is not up there somewhere dropping down ideas. It's already within you, and your ideas come in through your intuition. And then your imagination goes to work and starts to build the visual image of what it is you want. And then the result of that is that you just feel so good all over. And then the universe feels that good, and it starts sending you good things and people to help you. All right, your turn.
Woo, good stuff.
You have to
So
stop me.
fun.
You can pay bills while I'm talking.
No, we came here to hear from you and learn from you. And really, this is really profound. This is what I've experienced is that, and although I haven't had a job in many, many years, but as I'm able to free up space, having other people do tasks that I don't want to do, it allows me to stay in that creative space. In order to really be an entrepreneur, you have to be creative. Listen, I'm in the insurance industry. People might not think that's a creative industry, but the way that you have to relate to people, the way that I have to build their financial strategy, everything is custom. It really requires me to be creative. Whatever your business is going to require that creativity from you. And if you allow yourself to get sucked in by all the things that are happening at work and this drama and that drama, you will not have that energy. You will not have that energy to really thrive in your business and be able to say bye-bye to your boss. So that was so cool. I loved it.
This also gives you time to build your brand. I mean, because branding is another thing you don't really even know, don't you think, Leah? Because I mean, I didn't even know what brand was, and that develops over time. So that's another thing that if you just take a breath, and Les Brown once said, or better this one, Mary Morrissey says, you can climb to the top of Mount Everest as long as you don't, taking baby steps, as long as you don't stop moving your feet. So this process is consistent baby steps, right? It just keep moving. And Les Brown says, if you find yourself in hell, keep moving your feet. Get on through it.
Keep going.
I know. It's so funny.
I love that. I love that you know all these people that I study. You've studied with Les Brown. You studied with Bob Proctor. These are all people that are so incredible. So that just adds so much more to your dimension that you actually know these people. So I love that. Now we know we're ready to go ahead and do it. We're going to start going ahead. What do we need to do I love that you said prepare your brand in advance so that as you're preparing to say goodbye to your boss, you are building that brand, because you really have to do it in order to really know if it's your brand. You have to battle test it. You may think your brand is one thing. You may think that this is your mission statement, but as you share it, it truly will evolve and grow, like you alluded to. So now we're ready to go ahead and do that. What are some things mentally you think that we need to study? What do we need to bring in to just help us to get through that process? And this is what I mean by that. Oftentimes I sit down with an entrepreneur and they say, I don't have a mentor. I don't have any direction. I don't have any guidance. Mm-hmm. I don't know where I don't have any leadership. So what are some things that they could do to prepare so that they're ready to go into battle? Because we're warriors, right? We're entrepreneurs. We're warriors.
Yeah, we are. Well, first of all, have a one-page business plan. Don't worry, unless you're going to go out for big funding and everything. Don't let people convince you that you have to extrapolate a big business plan. You really don't. There's also a lot of small business association units in major cities where retired people are absolutely willing to help you with any of this paperwork, and I think it's all free, if I'm not mistaken. Um, you want to have a mentor. You want to seek somebody who is a specialist who has done this before. You want to keep your plans to yourself. You've not done this before. If you go out and start telling people, I'm going to do this, we have the naysayers. They are not as aware as you. They're coming from fear. Well, what are you going to do about money? You have to have a paycheck. Well, what if you don't get any clients? Well, what if you fail? What if you get sick? What if you can't afford it? Right. And so, particularly family, unfortunately, except the only person I know whose family of 15 children understands this is Lachelle, America's supermom.
Yeah.
Everybody else, in the New Testament, in Luke, I think it's 4:1 or 2, it's about not being a prophet in your own home. They don't understand where you're going. So you can have an accountability partner, you can have a coach, right? For 17 years, I took 500 people through 65 12-week goal setting processes and tracked them for 12 weeks over and over every quarter without stopping. So that's where you learn the process. I lost where I was going. Where was I going, Leah?
Oh, you're always going somewhere wonderful. So
this is one of the things you can do when you're a speaker. So you always get one person or two people in the audience. You tell them in advance, I might forget where I am.
there you go.
So somebody, would you stay on track with me? What was I talking about? Oh, God.
Having a mentor, having an
That's right. That's right. Yes.
partner.
Now be careful that you don't tell people about this, and especially your mentor. Be careful when you seek an expert, because remember, they know it better than you. So if you spill too many of the beans, they're going to tell you how to do it better because they've already done it. That's not really what you want. You want a mentor who will ask you questions and they're looking for what's missing. Now,
Right.
look, yeah, and here's what happens when you have a mentor. Well, I want to give you this example of winning the lottery. We've all dreamed of winning the lottery. But I bet you all know that that is the worst thing that could happen to you. The worst possible thing would be for you to win the lottery. Research shows that people that win the lottery who are not emotionally aware lose it all. Some kill themselves, and people are coming out of the woodwork. They're freaking afraid. Now, here's what happens, though, when you generate the money. So you've started your business. Now you've got your person who has won $1 million, okay? They're down here on emotional awareness. You're starting your business here. Okay, so in the first year, you move up to, let's say, $50,000. Probably do that. And all the things you learned along the way are now part of your synthetic imagination. That is, any examples that come up or challenges that you've already experienced are no-brainers for you. Now, then, let's say another 6 months or a year, you're up to $100,000. You're at six figures. Whatever you've learned in here, again, is it's your reference. It's your synthetic imagination. It's what you can draw on for solutions for problems. You're enjoying it. You're learning, you're bringing in the money, you're putting some away, and you're enjoying it. You're solving the problems and the obstacles with ease. Then we're going to go up to 150,000. Same thing. When you have that much money coming in, you may have extra employees. There are lessons to learn there, and so on and so forth until you get to $1 million. The whole idea is, or whatever the number is, that on the way to where it is you're going, this is the journey, right? That you are living a life of wealth, health, and happiness. You're not worried. You're not filled with anxiety. You have a frame of reference. You have a mentor. You've done so much. Now the person who wins the $1 million, they're still down here.
Right.
They don't know anything. So all of these lessons that you've learned, which allowed you to manage, you're a match, a vibrational, emotional match to managing that much money so that you can enjoy it. Do you think our universe doesn't want you to enjoy it? So when I say winning the lottery is the worst thing that could happen to a person, it throws them into all sorts of problems. Now, I personally, I have to tell you this, I'm so proud of myself, so silly. I've never bought a lottery ticket. Never. And since 1989, during the Exxon Valdez spill, I have not purchased any Exxon gas or products since 1989. And I also participated in the boycotts against Amazon. There's been 2 separate weeks where, the people are withholding purchasing at particular stores that have a lot of billionaires, I guess, to make it for the people to make a difference. The only hard one for me was Amazon. And I will tell you truthfully, I had to plan it and make damn sure that I had the stuff before that boycott went in, right? But if everybody does that, it's an influence. That's all. But so this is why you don't want a big windfall. And if you do get one, I will pray that you get one if that's what you want. I ask you to immediately get on a Zoom call with Leah Garcia so she can put you into that wonderful program she told me about, where if you get sick, the whole entourage comes in every day to take care of you. Fingernails, hair, right? So if you have that kind of money, that's the first thing you want to do. Go get, what is that called again, Leah?
We're talking about long-term care.
That's it. I'm older, so I think about stuff like that. But you never know, right? So the first thing you want to do, get yourself a financial advisor. In fact, my book, Errata, the plan is to sell it, and there'll be a big windfall with it. Leah's the first one, because I have no clue how to manage that money. So she's my money mentor. She is specialized knowledge, which is part of Carnegie's principles of success. So yeah.
So good.
Must be
you're getting
tired.
a little laughs there. You're getting a few little laughs there.
Okay,
So in my world, I talk about you have to increase your identity. So if you're a plumber, right, not a plumber, but if you're working in retail, okay, when I had a job back in the olden days, I worked at JCPenney's. I had the identity of working in retail. Nothing wrong with that. That's just who I identified at. I'm a cashier at JCPenney's. I was a little supervisor there. So that's your identity, whatever you're doing right now. And if you get this windfall, that's why the lottery doesn't work, because your identity is still somebody who has their income at this certain level. I loved your term, and I'd love to know more about this synthetic imagination. So in my world, I talk about increasing your identity, and there is really a mathematical and also scientific that correlates to income levels. So 0 to 50,000 is one identity. 50,000 to 150 requires a whole nother identity.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what is the question?
So my question is, Share more with us, because I think about it that way. I think about it in financial increments. That's how I coach my clients. And then I also talk about increasing their identity. But you shared a term that I don't know if I've ever heard you say is synthetic imagination.
Okay. That's right out of Think and Grow Rich. There's two kinds of imagination. There's creative imagination when you get this wild idea out of the blue, like where in the world did that come from? But then immediately, once you get that idea, if it resonates with you, immediately you start bringing in all the experiences you had. You start putting together, well, I can do this. You don't know exactly how you're going to do it, but your mind will bring up all the experiences you've had, and it'll make an attempt to fill in all the pieces, and then you go and get the answers to those other pieces. Now, to your point about, I want to bring up this about Maxwell Maltz's book, Psycho-Cybernetics. Because when you talk about that brand awareness between 0 and 50,000, is that what you called it? Brand awareness?
No, actually, it's a scientific. What I've seen is that it's a certain identity when you're making 0 to 50,000.
Okay.
From 50,000 to 150, it requires something completely different, which is exciting to me. But yes,
that is your self-image. Oh, well, put his back up here because I want to read what he said, because I didn't want to. There we go. Research. Do not be afraid to ask questions, not just to your field, but to anyone who is in business field that can answer. But you have to be, yes, very cautious, because they're going to start asking you questions and you're going to start spilling the beans, and not everybody understands. And remember, the worst thing they can say is no. I'm very selective. That's just my experience. All right. So thank you for that. If you can be diplomatic and not tell them why, make sure you can ask people who know more than you about it, not less than you. That would be my only suggestion. Okay. So to your point about the identity. So Maxwell Maltz, back in the 60s, I think it was the 60s, maybe the 50s, the 60s, I think. Yeah. Wrote Psycho-Cybernetics. Now, self-image is a cybernetic system. A cybernetic system is your furnace and the thermostat. It's winter. You got the thermostat set to 70 degrees. One of the kids runs out, leaves the door open. It's freezing outside. The system notes that the temperature has dropped below the set point, right? And it kicks on the furnace. And the furnace will run until the heat moves back up to that 70 point, and then it switches off, provided the kid shut the door. Shut that door. It's winter. Here now it's 30 degrees out. We need the door shut. Now, the same thing is happening here with self-image, your identity. Johnny has always been a wonderful elementary school student. Everybody loves him. The teachers like him. He's a C+ student at best. But he never said, there's never a note that goes home. Everybody likes Johnny. He doesn't start fights. He's a good kid, right? He's just a good kind of average C+ student. He has a particular image, self-image through repetition, through all the report cards, is that he is a C+ student. That is his identity. I am a C+ student. That's all he's ever seen. Nobody said it was wrong, right, good or bad. That is his identity. Now he gets ready to go into 6th and 7th grade, and his parents go, oh, shoot, we want him to go to college. He's got to start really studying. So 7th grade, 8th grade particularly, Johnny, we want you to go to college. You're going to have to do better than C+. Look, if you can keep your grades up for so long and you study, we'll give you a car, right? When you turn 16. And they incentivize him, and they give him the sales pitch, and they get him all inspired and excited. And for a while, little Johnny starts studying better. His grades get better, but it's not long enough to create a new set point or self image or identity. And he slips right back to being the OKC plus student. So what has to happen is this learning between the tiers, between the levels that you're talking about, exactly those lessons, those failures and then successes, which we learn through failure. I wish we had known that when someone would come home with an F on their report card, there was really something wrong. But it really, failure is how we learn. And so that is, you have to put in the time, right? You have to put in the time. And that's why I say, as you're building your business, you do it incrementally, solving the obstacles on the way so you can have a good time.
Yeah.
You're supposed to have a good time. Is that helpful?
That is helpful. So then my next question is, how do we increase our identity?
Through learning things we didn't know. It's overcoming the obstacle and solving it, right? We only know so much when we get here, right? But now we've got more money coming in. We've got a couple of extra clients. Okay, so now between this level, the 50 and the 150 or whichever it is, there's a whole lot of learning. There's a whole lot of trial and error. And that is why this takes time, but it builds synthetic imagination and a resilience so that you can ease through while the money's coming in and the clients are coming in and you're hiring people and you're happy because you are a match to the vibration that it requires for you to have this much money. And that match comes through your willingness and readiness to learn those lessons and to keep moving your feet. So it's not a perfect system, but it works if you work it. I guess it's like anything. It works if you work it.
It does. And oftentimes I hear people and they say, well, I just don't have the confidence. Like I want to do it, but I just don't have the confidence. I'm afraid of failure. I'm afraid of what people think of me. I'm afraid of mucking it all up. What would you say to someone in that situation?
Well, yeah, because you've mucked it up before. That's a legitimate fear. We all have. Not only have we mucked it up, but the interesting thing about the mind is that every time you revisualize that mucking up, you also get the lousy feeling. And that lowers your vibration. And remember, the way you're feeling about what you're thinking is signaling to the universe, whether it's love or not love for yourself and humanity. And then God or the universe energetically through manifestation will send you the exact match to your vibration. So while we don't really know a lot of times what we believe, I can tell you, look at your lifestyle.
Right.
That is what you have faith in. That is what, and so you don't, when you fail, those are your stripes. So what you have to do when you're afraid is what only 2 or 3 people out of 100 ever do. You have to want to succeed more than the fear. Because you failed, and that's a natural fear. You've earned that fear. Don't let anybody tell you that fear isn't real. Those are your stripes. However, what you may not have known is that cellular vibration of resurrecting the memory of that negative experience drops the cellular vibration. And our natural vibration is high. You see, mind is an activity. It's not a place.
Right.
What you think about the most and the way you feel about it will come out in how you're feeling. So if it's good, there's a spring in your step, you've got goosebump on your arms. If you're thinking about where you're going to put your new office, right? What you're thinking directly translates to the proteins in your cells. It's an activity. It governs how your body is reacting. And there's some play the other way. So, and that's not brain. So the idea is that we can actually intentionally control what we think the most, but you have to be willing to bump up against all your fears. So when you're afraid and you've never done it before, you will get to a point when you're ready, not because I say you should do it or someone else says, well, you know, Leslie, it's been a long time. When are you going to get off the pot and do something about this, right? It's not up to anybody else. But when you're ready, you will do it. And you have to be so in love, so compelled and nearly obsessed with doing this thing that the fears don't matter, that they just blot out fear. If you feel fear during one of these big pushes, simply remind yourself why you started it. Because sometimes we can get down the road and go, oh, why am I doing this? I'm sick of it. Right? I've been doing this goal. I mean, I just want to do something else. I mean, who hasn't been there? But then you have to make yourself go back, because this isn't what I planned. This isn't what I wanted. Why did you do it in the first place? And you'll right yourself right away, especially if you're in love with it, you're compelled to do it. It's the thing for you. Now, there is sometimes you outgrow certain dreams, right? But that's another whole conversation. And boy, we've just talked up a storm.
We have, and we're winding down the last couple of minutes.
Thank you, everybody, for staying so long.
I know, I love it. We're just here at the top, almost at the top of the hour. So one thing I think that has served me well, and I'd love to share, is that when things go awry and I do muck it up, I flip the script in my mind. So I don't allow myself to lay my head on the pillow until I flip that script and I create a new story. So I rewrite that, whatever happened that didn't go the way that I wanted it to, and then I rewrite it in my mind so that it is a new story. So that I'm not dwelling.
Give us an example. Give us an example of something that you might say to yourself that you would absolutely flip the script.
And I don't know it's so much that I say to myself, because I do affirmations, but I'm saying, let's say, for example, it doesn't go right with the client and they say no and they don't want it. Leave me alone. Okay. So I will actually recreate the story the way that I would like the story to end. And I actually visualize them saying, yes, it was wonderful. And they became my client and they referred me to lots of people. Otherwise, for me, I will tend to dwell on the story that doesn't serve me.
Yeah.
And that's not good. Right. So
that is really good, because the other thing is that sometimes, how many times has this happened? When you didn't get the job or you didn't get the client, and within 2 days they called you up because something went awry with the decision they made. All the more reason to do exactly what you did, because you're leaving it on a very high vibration. They are going to want my services, whatever it takes. I will make a difference for these people. How many times have you had a job or didn't get the job, right? You didn't get the job, and 2 or 3 days later you get called because something happened with that person. That's happened to me twice. So that you don't really throw the baby out with the bathwater. You continue to what Leah's saying, continually visualizing and flipping the script from negative, I must have done something wrong or not be as smart as other people, all the way over to, they don't quite yet realize what a gem I am.
Yes.
And the universe will open up, and it does very often.
I love that. Oh my goodness. This was so fun. Thank you so much. I always enjoy our collaborations where you made a lot of old friends, but some new friends and fans. How can people reach you? How can they get in touch with you, Miss Queen Dr. Leslie Flowers? What's the best way for people to reach you?
I don't know if I can take on another name. Okay. So it's real simple. Mondays and Fridays, 10 a.m. live Eastern. Monday, I teach we facilitated discussion, Mind Over Matter Mondays. This is all about this, how to have your conscious mind outweigh your negative subconscious mind, which is all about fear, right? And I do that with Nicole Angai Galindo. She's my co-host. And then Fridays at 10 a.m. Eastern, each week I do a 45-minute teaching of the Carnegie's Principles of Success from Think and Grow Rich. So you can have something consistently every Monday, every Friday. Find me on LinkedIn and let's connect.
That's
Thank
awesome.
you, Leah. Thank you so much for having me on. This is our second go round.
It is, and I love it. I think this one's better than the first one. It was intended to be this way. So I just appreciate your time. And I would say I appreciate all of you who tuned in. I love all the comments. I love all the interaction. And remember, this is a networking opportunity. Share your links, share what you're doing. If you have a podcast, a book, upcoming something, please share it in the comments. Network with somebody who's there. People are looking for you and what you do. And I would say if you're here, it's because you are the one in your family. You're the one that is supposed to chase that dream. You're the one, that vision is put in your heart. You're the one that's supposed to become that entrepreneur, that business owner, and truly change your family's last name forever. I truly believe that. It doesn't matter where you are. No matter where you are financially, how much debt you have, how much money you think you don't have, it doesn't matter. You could truly go from zero to hero and transform your entire last name forever. One thought, one inspiration, one connection. And now this vision that you've had in your heart and you're trying to figure out how to make it happen, it just magically opens up. It seems like magic, but it's not, right? We know what that is. So thank you so much, everyone. We appreciate you. And I'm here every single Wednesday for Wealthy Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard. And if you're looking for a speaking opportunity, I would love to talk to you. So with that being said, that's going to do it for us. Thank you so much, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your Wealthy Wednesday.
Bye, everyone.
Everyone.
Thank you, Leah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.